Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. The God of High School has officially evolved. It's no longer a simple martial arts tournament-style anime series. It's transformed into a veritable monster mash in the most recent episode of the series, as Jin Mori does battle with Ilpyo Park, who is now harnessing the power of a vengeful nine-tailed fox. And that's not even the craziest thing that actually happens in this episode. This is the turning point for the series, where it's definitely going to start to come into its own. They're going to start building upon the lore of this world and what's really going on in the background. And it's something that's always been prevalent since the very first episode of the series. It's very obvious that a lot of the characters in the show are just not your everyday normal humans, and that they're utilizing a power that is something that normal people simply cannot understand or even visualize themselves. That's the thing that I still ask myself all the time when I'm watching this show. Whenever the characters use these really weird, outlandish powers, like the power of Karyok, using the power of gods, borrowing it, can normal people actually see this? Can they actually tell that Ilpyo has essentially transformed into a furry version of himself in the nine-tailed fox form? I mean, can they see the tails, the fire, the destruction, the fact that Jin Mori suddenly summoned the power of a god which took the form of a giant hand which smacks the ever-living shit out of a freaking boxing ring? I mean, I just want to know a little bit more about that, but otherwise, this episode right here was pretty freaking awesome. Divided into two parts, it was pretty crazy, with the first half basically being fully devoted to Jin Mori battling against Ilpyo Park, and it is one of the best fights of the series, and yet at the same time, still probably not my favorite fight from the series. But visually, it did look really awesome, and most of that is owed to the fact that Ilpyo's nine-tailed form looks really awesome. It basically completely transforms him into someone else with the white hair, the ears, the fiery fox tails. It just looks really freaking awesome. And I do love at the very beginning of the episode, they actually dive into some more of the details of what this nine-tailed fox is. Basically, an ancient legend all about God and how he had this warrior by him, which was this nine-tailed fox, which basically protected him and the entire kingdom of, I'm just gonna call it heaven. And over time, God realized that this nine-tailed fox was getting really dangerous and maybe a little too big for his britches, so basically he decided to get rid of him, and this fox went to Earth where it was waiting and biding its time before eventually it could come back in the form of some sort of brand new person. Whether that means it's possessing them or it actually takes over the body of these people remains to be seen. Now, my first thought in the last episode is that the nine-tailed fox was actually going to be the god that Nox was actually looking for, but I actually don't think that's the case in this episode. I think that Mandiok, the guy that Mujin is actually going up against, mentions that basically this guy is just the key to actually getting to their god. So maybe you guys can inform me a little bit more about that in the comment section. It's a little confusing, but the point is we learn the backstory of this fox, and then finally we get some freaking action. And to my surprise, it was not an utter massacre. I really thought that Ilpyo was just going to be kicking Jin Mori's ass up and down the street in this episode, and it doesn't happen. It's actually a really solid fight, and it's pretty even for the most part. Of course, Ilpyo is just dominating at the beginning with his ability to not only practically teleport really fast, but his ability to utilize basically fox fire in a number of different ways. Like, he can summon fiery foxes from his hands, he can summon multiples of them at once, and it all looks visually pretty freaking awesome. But Mori, being just the amazing fighter that he is, manages to not only one-up him, utilizing his abilities as well, but also summoning his very own form of Karyok, which might not even be Karyok at all. It might be something else entirely, as it's still sort of like up in the air, and Mori doesn't even really know how he did it. Basically, though, the visual of them essentially fighting on a different plane of existence and him summoning like a massive god hand to defeat Ilpyo is pretty freaking crazy, and it raises so many questions as to what the deal is with Mori and his powers, because he himself doesn't even really know what's going on here. But it's all really great stuff, but shockingly, I thought that this meant that the story was going to go in a different direction. Maybe Ilpyo was going to lose himself to the power of the nine-tailed fox. But no, essentially, again, he's simply just borrowing it, and that's pretty much the end of that match. So, Mori and their team wins, man, everything's pretty hunky-dory. Let's go get some Korean barbecue. But no, it gets a little crazier from there, and I mean really freaking crazy, because while all of this was going on, we go back to that one character who goes by the name of Jeon Jugak. And he was the guy who was defeated by Jegal. Really not defeated, he was absolutely massacred by the guy. And somehow, he's starting to manifest these weird demonic-like powers where it looks like his body is being taken over by some sort of weird demonic entity. And he's going around the hospital where currently Ilpyo is actually staying after his match. And essentially, he's just going around and killing everyone in his wake and absorbing them into his body and becoming an even more powerful monster until he's confronted by none other than Jegal Taek. Jegal just wants to take this guy down, and it's another great demonstration of his powers, his ability to not only summon a giant, freaky shark monster from out of nowhere, but simply the ability to manifest massive spikes from people's bodies, and I don't even know how you're supposed to fight against something like that. The point is, while Jugok here is in this, like, mindless monster mode, Jegal is fighting against him, it causes a lot of destruction, they end up busting into Ilpyo's room, which is pretty crazy, and then the worst thing possible happens. So, like I said, Jugok in this monster form suddenly can start absorbing people into his body and becoming stronger and regenerating, and he ends up taking Sunga and the other member of Ilpyo's team and starts to take them away, and then Jegal decides to finally fight back, utilizing that shark, who basically ends up biting him in half, and in the process, not only does he end up defeating Jugok, but he actually ends up really injuring Ilpyo's family and friends, with Sunga losing a leg and his other friend losing a freaking arm in the process. And of course, this just has all of these terrible memories rush back to him of what happened with his other friend who was severely injured by Jegal, and basically they're pretty much building up Jegal as like one of the big villains of the series at this point. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he is going to be a villainous type of character, and for why he's in this hospital doing all this stuff in the first place is hard to say, but again, another fight is about to ensue because instantly Ilpyo gets pissed off. You can see he's starting to already bring back the power of the nine-tailed fox as he grabs onto Jegal, they blast out of a freaking window and take the fighting to the streets. And while all this is going on, you have Mandiok, another member of Mox, who is, summoning, like, this giant gate, which is having all of these crazy, weird, freaky, angel-looking warriors exploding out of the sky. Basically, shit just went to 11 in the craziest way possible. A massive battle is about to take place in the city, and I can't even fathom what's going to happen next. According to Park Mujin, the God of High School tournament is over, and now we're going to move into something else, which is even crazier. And in some ways it's kind of disappointing because I wanted to see what the finals are going to be like, but this is infinitely more interesting than anything that's actually going on in this tournament. And I have no doubt that Mori, Daewoo, and Mira are going to get involved in all of this. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. So what's the rundown on this episode of The God of High School? Visual overload kind of episode. And like I said, while I really did enjoy it, I don't think it was any of the best material that I've actually seen from the series. A lot of the fight at the beginning, while it was really entertaining and really cool looking visually, mostly because of Ilpyo's transformation, didn't feature the best choreography fighting that I've actually seen from the anime. It makes me feel like maybe they're kind of holding back a little bit before they move into the finale of the season where things are definitely going to get a lot crazier from here. Otherwise, I can still say I really enjoyed it, and I love the look of Ilpyo's form, if only for the fact that just I'm always a sucker for like the nine-tailed fox kind of characters, whether it's frickin' Kurama from Naruto or Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. I like nine-tailed fox characters named Kurama. Can you guess? Point is, it looks really cool and distinctive here, and a little different than the ones that I've seen in other series, but still sort of carrying all those trademarks features that you would expect from something like a nine-tailed fox. And the whole fiery aspect of his powers, I thought looked really freaking cool. I totally dug that. As for Mori and the abilities that he's using, I have no idea. My guess is that it might actually be connected to that story that was told at the very beginning where you have the fox and the god. Maybe Mori was actually channeling the power of that very god that went against him, which I think would be an interesting dynamic, as both Mori and Ilpyo's relationship is kind of interesting. They're both friends at this point, and I do love the one small moment before everything went crazy with Jugok and Jegal at the very end of the episode, where they had a moment to talk after their fight, and you get to see them sort of reconcile their differences and also accept the fact that they're good friends with one another, they want to fight again, and of course you have Ilpyo, learning a little bit more about Jin Taejin and everything that's going on with him, so I thought that was a nice, slow, good character moment before things just went off the freaking rails with all that monster stuff at the end. I was just like, what the hell is even going on? Why is this guy even here? Why did they even decide to bring this guy back? He didn't even really seem all that important at the end of the day. but it was a really cool surprise. And again, I love when the series gets really outlandish, because that's, I think, some of the most fun stuff that I've actually seen from the show. I mean, I still love all the fight scenes in the tournament and everything, but whenever they start to dive and all of this like weird mystical stuff, it always ends up being a lot more interesting, both visually and just, I think, in terms of where the story is actually going to head. Basically, a massive, weird, godlike war is about to go down, and I hope that all of the main characters are going to be involved in some sort of sense, and I hope that it all has a good finality to it. I really hope that this isn't going to be a read the manga kind of anime series, where basically it's just a preview for that. I really want to see this continue in the future and flourish and be really cool, because while The God of High School is not the greatest anime of all time, it's entertaining as all get out, and I love watching it every single week. Not my favorite action anime, not even my favorite anime by a long shot, but I look forward to watching it all the time, if only for all of the crazy action scenes themselves. So there's a lot of promise for the last couple episodes of the season. I'm very excited to see how that's going to go, and I really liked this episode right here, which is why I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. For me, it was pure awesome popcorn entertainment, and if you're looking for some good action anime, you'd be hard-pressed to find anything better this season, so make sure and check it out. But if any of you did watch the episode, I would love to get your thoughts about it in the comments section below, telling me what you thought about this episode, whether it's the battle between Jin Mori and Ilpyo, or maybe it's just all of the crazy crap going on at the end of the episode with Jegal. What is his true motive? What is his plan? Why was Jugok transforming into a weird red-absorbing demon monster? And what do you want to see from the big finale of The God of High School? So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like this video, use your karaoke abilities to summon the hand of God and hit that like button. It helps out these videos a lot and ensures a lot more people can see my content. I also want to thank all of my patrons, who are awesome, because not only are you watching my videos, but you're donating to the channel every single month, and I cannot thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of super awesome people. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.